Hello everyone, my name is John David, and today we will be covering training, learning, and development. The group consists of myself, Regina, Jonathan, Shakira, Pauline, and Tara. And today we wanted to cover some strategies and theories and applications pertaining to training, learning, and development that you can take back to your own agency and try to improve on any processes. So what's going to be covered today? Well, I'm going to be covering the introduction and the conclusion. Regina is going to be covering the general principles of learning. Jonathan and Shakira have decided to break apart training strategies, so they will both be covering training strategies in two different sections. Pauline will be discussing organizational learning strategies. And then finally, Tara will be discussing managing changes and application. And one of our last slides, there will be some questions for you to answer and take back to your workplace and see if it applies there, and kind of dissect your own training policies and strategies that you have in your work environment. Public agencies have shifted towards utilizing social media platforms and apps. New skills and abilities are needed in order for public agencies to stay current. Training and development is now viewed as a critical element in the success of an agency. So what's the difference? Well, when it comes to training, I always like to think about it from the current perspective. The efforts to increase knowledge, skills, and abilities in order for employees to excel in their current position. In comparison to development, where development is more about an effort to improve future performance by enhancing those skills in which will enable you to advance into higher positions. And then ultimately, it's all about learning. Are you learning? Are you being able to take what you're taught and comprehend it and apply it to your position?
General principles of learning are learning theories that provide a foundation for successful training and development for an individual or groups. General principles of learning are based on principles from cognitive psychology, behaviorism, and social learning. The principles of learning that will be discussed are motivation, relevance and transference, repetition and active participation, underlying principles, and feedback and positive reinforcement. When talking about the general principles of learning, it is important to mention adult learning theory. Adult learning theory is a theory of employee learning that emphasizes employee experience, a preference for active participation, an interest in self improvement and problem solving, and the exercise of control in learning styles and methods. The first principle of learning is motivation. According to Berman et al., motivation in training holds that people learn better when they are eager to acquire new knowledge, skills, and abilities, seek out application opportunities, and overcome obstacles in the workplace. There are two strategies for motivation. The first is that workers understand the need for what they are to do and how training and development fit into an organization's purpose. The second strategy is management support. With management support, workers have the support of management when dealing with consequences of training. An example of a consequence is when an employee has a concern of how a new approach to a task will be put into practice. The second principle of learning is relevance and transference. Relevance is how any training and development will relate to an employee's tasks. If an employee does not understand the relevance, there could be a lack of motivation. There could also be a lack of motivation if there is one-shot learning. With one-shot learning, an employee cannot discuss or ask questions about the training. Transference is the extent to which training materials are relevant in actual job situations. For training to be relevant, training should be conducted in the workplace where an employee can see firsthand how any new knowledge or skills can be readily transferred to the workplace. The third principle of learning is repetition and active participation. Some people do not retain much information after learning it only once. It may take a few tries to fully understand a concept. The rule of three states that a person will hear something only after it has been said 3 times. The rule of seven states that a person must practice something 7 times to master it. Overlearning is when learned knowledge, skills, or abilities become second nature. In other words, practice makes perfect. Studies have found that adults are active learners and prefer participation over passively listening. The fourth principle of learning is understanding the principles of training and development, or why and how a method is used. This principle opens the door for employees to be more creative, to find new applications, or how to solve problems. For those employees who are not creative or can't think outside of the box, this principle can be a challenge. This type of training or learning can help an employee develop insight and increase creativity, as already mentioned. The final principle of learning is feedback and positive reinforcement. Training and learning are enhanced when feedback is immediate, direct, positive, or constructive. Feedback helps one reach goals and master new skills. According to Berman et al., feedback should be objective. Positive feedback is used to reinforce actions, and negative feedback is designed to arrest them, especially constructive feedback. Positive reinforcement provides encouragement through acknowledgement, praise, and acceptance, and is best used for those who do not want to learn or have learning deficits. Those who do not want to learn or have learning deficits need to be told what to do or be encouraged.
Choosing the form of training for employees requires a strategic approach and should have decisive goals. This is because training can help prevent legal litigation to agencies and correct misinformation to employees. Trainings also help make sure employees are knowledgeable in their duties, providing the best service to the people and organization they serve. There are numerous forms of training, and agencies need to pick the most appropriate one to accomplish their objective. The first type of training that will be covered, which is also the most common form, is the on-the-job training. This is when skills are learned through practical hands-on experience. It requires the coaching from a competent, knowledgeable, and willing employee for it to be successful. This form of training also allows for employees to practice multiple tasks at once, as well as the tasks of other employees, so they can cover their duties in the future if needed. However, employees still need to have a knowledgeable basis through formal training, which needs to be provided in a more controlled environment. One of the most traditional and common forms of training is an in-house seminar. It is the most effective and economic way to communicate necessary information to employees. Seminars can reinforce policies, legal matters of importance, and other workplace issues that need to be addressed. Seminars work well when they are shorter and in small groups. This allows for a more intimate setting where employees can ask questions and be engaged in the presentation. Presenters should interact with attendees as much as possible and regularly check to see if they are engaged and learning what is being taught. Now, seminars can be boring, causing employees to be easily distracted from the information that is presented. Therefore, it is important to try and be entertaining as well as informative. Mentoring can be a very powerful and impactful form of training new employees. It provides leadership roles for senior employees as long as they are willing and eager to take on a mentee. Unenthusiastic mentors can ruin the first impression of new employees and hamper the professional development. Strong mentees help newer employees avoid mistakes made in the past and assist in the development of their long-term goals and provides them with feedback for improvement. Mentoring has proved to be successful enough so that large companies commonly request that senior employees be mentors to their new employees.
Web-based learning training have been popular within the years. Older workers tend to have more face-to-face trainings. However, other workers have been familiar with the web-based training due to the advantages such as reduces travel time and costs. Employees are also able to have an adequate amount of time to access the information and are able to participate in discussions. The advantages of having the web-based learning are the remote access, meaning employees do not have to travel far to attend trainings. They are able to access via internet, which reduces travel costs and time being used. The disadvantages of the web-based training are the lack of communication and feedback from the instructor. It is fading away due to technology. Due to the web-based learning, some employers provide employees with web-based developmental opportunities. The classes can include free languages classes such as Spanish or Chinese. It is important for employees to recognize the need for organizational learning and the developments throughout the workplace. The workplace must encourage their units to adopt new procedures and technologies to be used in recognizing the need to implementing to fit their needs. Creating innovation hubs would help employers and managers understand the challenges and find ways to execute the solutions. The hubs will consist of small offices, which will staff few employees who have the experience and needs for developing new strategies for the workplace. Simulation allows managers and employees to duplicate the on the job experience without the interruption of work processes. It is important to have a simulation due to some employees learning through OJT, which could be unacceptable due to poor outcomes. On the job training can sometimes be unsuccessful. For example, a firefighter cannot do on the job training while a house is on fire. There must be some type of practice before being put out into the field. Vestibule training are separate areas that allows workers to practice skills or process without disrupting the work activities. Formal education, education that prepares people for the future. Employees that wish to advance to higher positions tend to return to universities to further their education. Training differs from education due to knowledge and practice rather than the actual technical details of the job. Training allows employees to be alike by learning the exact same skills. Education is self-discovery. It makes the employee different than someone who is completing training. Education has become more accessible to full-time employees by offering distance learning and outreach efforts. Also, full-time employees geared towards certificate programs, which are courses from graduate or undergraduate programs. Some organizations may question, how will they gain from allowing employees to pursue their education? Employers feel if the employees are using the tuition benefits for returning back to further their education, the employees may never be promoted or may leave the company. Other agencies believe that offering a tuition benefit will attract highly qualified employees.
Organization learning. The purpose of organization learning is so that agencies, departments, and individuals can start thinking about the stature of what and how they are currently doing and what they could or should be doing differently or better to improve, so that when change happens, public organizations are quick to respond by being vibrant, receptive, and forward-looking. Some forms of organization learning are new policies or services that are cost-effective. Issues of organization learning. Although organization learning is great, there are challenges and issues that can impede on its effectiveness. First is encouraging individuals to be open-minded and recognize that things can be done differently and better. Second is to get buy-in from different groups of people, to get on board and to support change. One example of effective organization learning is a city that installed subway station machines through which people could make small charitable donations using smart cards to increase funding for local nonprofits. Overcoming these issues, some things that senior management can do is to encourage and train people to think in new ways and ensure that they are supportive and involved in the organization learning process. Some effective organization learning strategies or approaches that management can take include idea development, leaders thinking, and change management. Idea development is a simple and effective learning organization strategy. It involves asking employees to submit new ideas for improving their own work, that of their work units, or that of the agency. It works best when it is part of an organization process that have management support, such as strategic planning or production processes. However, it does sometimes suffer from lack of management buy-in, which can be detrimental to the learning process when management support and constructive feedback are critical to the ideas that the employees propose. This approach alone is not enough, but adopting a significant number of new ideas would likely to increase responsiveness, performance, and innovation. A second effective learning organization strategy is leaders thinking. Any system is only as good as its leaders, and what that means is how leaders and managers are selected and evaluated matters greatly in determining the nature of an organization. Learning organizations need managers and leaders who are supportive in learning and the search for improvement that implies. Some of the leadership qualities include forward-looking, open to innovation, ability to implement change, and ability to bring out qualities in others. Shell developed a system of HAIR, which is an acronym that stands for Helicopter Analysis, Imagination, and Reality, as all necessary intellectual qualities of senior management. There are also specific qualities for what leaders and managers need to be able to do in forward-looking innovative organizations. While dynamic governance, which is thinking ahead, thinking again, and thinking across, implies a world with changes to which public organizations need to adapt and give leadership. It also requires the ability to understand how one's organization interacts with change.
Organizational change should be anticipated as it is often continuous. Change can be characterized as large, one-time ordeals or, as is more often the case, reoccurring smaller events. Berman et al. Listed several ways in which organizational change may be effectively managed. Those include utilizing data regarding the reasons why change is necessary, having clarity around the anticipated changes, addressing concerns early in the process, strategically choosing manageable changes and who will implement change, celebrating successful change, making modifications as needed, and having a plan for potential difficulties such as resistance to the change, setbacks, and the learning curve. Learning organizations tend to implement more smaller changes to accomplish the purposes of public organizations. However, even small changes may have impactful, unanticipated consequences. In learning organizations, mentoring is promoted as a way to help train managers by passing on knowledge and cultivating the necessary skills to handle unanticipated events. By utilizing everyone within an organization, a manager may learn more while on the job. Mastery is about paying attention to everything. Ethics training serves as an example of the purposes of training and development. By implementing ethics training, organizations may attract new employees, retain current employees, reduce the potential legal exposure, and may reinforce job-specific ethical requirements. For example, ethics training for public managers may include information about accepting gifts, conflicts of interest, and the use of government resources. As we've discussed, ethics training will be most effective when part of an overall effort to increase awareness and strengthen desirable behaviors. The rule of three applies, as employees may need to hear the importance of an ethical rule multiple times from management. The rule of seven also applies, as ethical issues may be complex and require trial and error to implement new policies. Learning is promoted by open discussions between employees and management to share ideas and experiences. Training may be used as a tool in conjunction with other organizational approaches such as PodScore. Overall, training is most effective when ingrained in the organization.
Training and development is constantly changing in order to stay current with the relevant skills, knowledge, and abilities employees need. Agencies no longer seek traditional in-house training seminars, although that is still one of the bigger outlets. Instead, there is a push for one-on-one mentorship and coaching sessions. There's also a new drive for web-based interactive trainings that allow employees to be more engaged and comprehend the material that's being provided to them. In order for training and development to be effective, employees need to be motivated to learn and comprehend the material. And one way agencies can do that is to be interactive, be creative with their training strategies, have a more increased attention towards organizational learning, which focuses on all employees at all levels. This will enhance comprehension and learning abilities, and ultimately it's going to play a key role in the success of your agency. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed our presentation today, and we want to leave you all with 2 questions to think about, take back to your own workplaces, and see if you can make a difference in your agency. The first question is, how well do you feel your agency or company does in providing creative, relevant training and development? The second question is, list some of the training strategies that your agency implements. With the information that was provided today, we hope that you guys can take that information and apply it in your own agencies or organizations, and we hope that you're able to make a change or a difference in lobbying for the importance of training, development, and learning